Do you ever feel like you're creating content nonstop, but not sure how it's actually building your business? Believe me, you're not alone. I'm Lyric Kennard, and this is Creatives on Camera, the podcast that helps artists, makers, and educators grow sustainable teaching businesses using video, one imperfect step at a time. In this episode, I'm talking with Emma Brassfield of Studio 77, who took lessons she learned from working as a costumer for movies like Star Wars and applied them to creating a sustainable and scalable online business. We talk about how she built an engaged audience on YouTube, what she's learned from running a membership, and reveal some tips for how she creates content that actually connects and converts. Let's get into it. Hello, I am here with Emma Brassfield. We met in Chicago, I believe, at the Handcrafts and Hobbies conference, and we were having dinner at a table with other people, and I overheard this magic conversation going off on the right and immediately just started fangirling so hard at some of the really, really fun, cool things you do. So Emma, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and give us a little bit of the background of how you started out in your creative making?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really excited to be here to chat with you. So I will introduce myself. I am Emma from Studio 77. I am a bag pattern designer. I also run a bag making membership. I am a YouTuber, and I also have a bag making subscription box as well. And yes, we met at H&H, and yeah, I guess I mean, as you know, I've always been creative, so I'm very happy to share as many tips and tricks as I can in business, and taking that creative path, anything that can help.
It's going to be so much fun to hear this journey. So you work with textiles in really interesting ways with machines and putting soft materials together. Tell us about your how did you get just into that creative sphere to start with?
Yeah, so my whole career I have been creative. So I kind of fell into textiles. So I was actually an exchange student in Illinois. Don't know if you knew that. When I was a junior at high school. And so because that, for us, that's kind of between so I left my high school in England at 16. And then we then go to our college, which is 16 to 18. But I took a year out and came, and I was a junior. So because I took a year out, I kind of missed the choosing of my college classes. So I sort of came back, and it was like an open evening, and I had to choose quite quickly. But I walked into the textiles room and was just like overwhelmed with the texture, obviously, and all the colors. And I was like, I want to do this. And I'm also very lucky that the college that I went to had 6 different types of art that you could do, and it's one of the best in the country. It's a free college. It just happens to be that it's local, so I'm very lucky. And I was bowled over by the textiles. At that time, I wanted to be a makeup artist. So everything I was doing, I wanted to do special effects makeup. So I was like, I'll just do textiles because I love it, but I'm also doing fine art and all the rest of it. But I was like, I just want to go to London College of Fashion, which is where one of the few places that they did costume and special effects. Makeup and special effects. I was getting ahead of myself a little bit there. And so I did textiles at A level, which is like 16 to 18 age range. And then I went into university, which is probably like your college. And to do that, to get onto the college, at university, the London College of Fashion, it's based in the heart of London on Oxford Street, which, if you know, is like the real bustling shopping kind of heart of London. And I didn't have an interview. I had to take my portfolio to there. I had to do an extra project on top of all my coursework, which was like crazy busy anyway. And we all dropped, there was loads of us, we dropped off our portfolio in the morning, and then we had to go back at like 2 and see if we even had an interview for later on that day. And I remember it was my birthday. I had like a bladder infection, probably too much information, but I wasn't very well. And it was all very stressful. And I went back and I did have an interview, and I went in, and again, like I say, I was applying to do makeup. I wanted to do makeup and special effects, and I thought you had to do makeup to do special effects. And at the time, you started off and you did a year and a half of makeup or costume, and then after that year and a half, it's a 3-year course. You then either stayed with those, or a third pathway opened up, and that was what they call technical effects, but it's all like the special effects side of makeup and costume. So I went in, and the head of makeup was there, and she was kind of going through, and she really kind of did down my work, like she kind of dissed it a bit, and I was a bit like downhearted and like, oh, okay. But she was like, I had lots of face painting, so I'd done lots of face painting because I thought that's a great way to practice. So she was going through it, and she was like, oh, it's just face paint, like kind of really dissed it. And I was like, oh, okay. Just kind of went with it. And then they were like, oh, at the end, but then they were like, your portfolio is very costume heavy, like there's lots of textiles, obviously, because I did A-level textiles. Maybe you'd be good for costume. And I was like, I don't care as long as I get onto the special effects.
Just let me in. Let me in. And then shortly after that, they said, oh, have you actually looked around the college? And I was like, no, because I didn't care what the college looked like. I just wanted to go there. And because there was very few choices. And I knew that being in London, obviously, that's where the film industry is as well. And I knew it had really good contacts and stuff. So anyway, this, who I didn't realise at the time, but the costume technical assistant is who took me around. So she's the one that's in the classroom if you have any machine issues or you need some extra fabric or what have you. And so she took me around, and she said, oh, I've been hearing about you all day. And I was like, oh, that's a good sign. That's exciting. So long story short, I got in, I did the course, I did costume, I didn't do makeup, I did costume, and then I did special effects. And honestly, doing the costume first was just 100%, when you say like fate or there's a greater plan that you don't know, whatever you believe in, I feel like the universe kind of shifted in my favor there. So and I absolutely loved costume. We did like all what I call like the straight costumes, so crinolines and corsets and millinery and printing, and it was just amazing. And then I went into, like I say, the technical effects, and we crossed over with makeup, and we learned a little bit how to apply makeup, but we learned all about fur and feathers and how, all the different techniques. And then so I did that as a degree. And then while I was doing that, I knew that I needed to be able to get into the film industry. I knew I needed contacts. Right.
You've probably realised I'm quite driven. Like if I want to do something and I can see it's achievable,
make it happen.
Very lucky that my parents are like that, so they very much helped me and taught me to be like that, and always encouraged that. Anyway, so all the way through my degree, I was trying to do short films and no pay, low pay, anything I could do just to get a CV, because I knew that I needed something, no matter what it was, on my CV to show that I had been trying and learning and everything. So when I graduated, I knew that the people in the year above were working on Harry Potter. And so I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. So I knew, it's all word of mouth. So I knew exactly who to contact. So I sent we didn't really have email back in those days. No one really used
talking
email.
Dark Ages.
I know.
Right?
So I sent off my letter with my CV and just kind of waited. And then I got a letter back, and it said, we'd like you to come for an interview at Harry Potter. And I was, of course, bouncing off the walls. And but little did I know that the number that they gave me was really hard to get through to. So I was ringing the number, and what I didn't realise is that I was ringing the phone that was sort of in one room, and literally across the room was another phone. Again, it was mainly, landline. You call them, I think you call them the same, but that I was ringing rather than a mobile. And I was ringing and no one was answering. And then when I did answer, ring back tomorrow, ring back next week, ring back last week, literally 2 months this went on for. for me to get an interview. And in the end, I was quite exasperated. I knew that some of my fellow graduates were starting on it soon. It must have been November time. And I reached out to a student in the year above that was on Harry Potter 2. And I was like, how do I get an interview? You know, I barely knew her. And she was amazing, because I don't think I would have given this advice. But she said, because with the letter, it had a leaflet saying, if you want to come and do a makeup course, call this number, you know, as a kind of way for them to sell their makeup course. So I just rang that number and I really casually said, oh, hi, can I speak to Nick, please? And I didn't realize I'd rang his wife. Ooh. And he was like, she was like, yeah, sure, here's his mobile number. So that was amazing. So I literally rang him, had an interview the next day. And then during the interview, again, you know, the universe aligned. They said, oh, you're obviously very costume based. If we can't get you a job in the creature effects department, which is what I really wanted to do, we'll see about getting you a job in costume. And I was like, I don't care, I just want to work on a big film. And anyway, he got his head of fabrication in, who is a guy called Day. Fabrication, so within creature effects, you have mini departments. So creature effects is the main department, like you would have costume, makeup, lighting, creature effects. And then within that, you have like the mold makers, the sculptors, the hair department, and then you have fabrication. There's other departments as well. But fabrication is the sewing side of creatures, or the soft engineering, some people call it as well. So he came in and I didn't realise that he'd actually picked my portfolio out from my course show. I had no idea. And you don't really know, do you? He's looking at your stuff. So that was my first film job.
Film job is one of the biggest film franchises ever. And you've gone on to work, in some really, really big and really interesting costuming places.
Yeah, so after that, it's one of those things that once you've got your foot in the door, as long as you're prepared to work hard and you get on with people, you know, it's very much a team. And often you have to work late nights, all night sometimes. That's not great. That's definite bad side of the industry. And so you just kind of, and obviously people need help as well, so they will just give you a call. Are you available? We need your help. You know, they're down to the bone as well, so they want you to come in, things like that. So it was just word of mouth, really, and it just kind of, once you get going, it snowballs. So so I've went on from Harry Potter 3. I went on, that was The Prisoner of Azkaban. I also then worked on Batman Begins with Day as well, who was my immediate boss. Did lots of different things. I think the one that people get most excited about is that I made Chewbacca for Star Wars, which people get really excited about. I have to say, it's not the most complicated or technical thing I've ever made, but I do appreciate he's very well loved.
What was interesting is that's where I came into the conversation, listening to, because we're talking at a table with knitters and fiber people, right? So you were talking about specific fibers that you knit the base from, and then hand knotting yak belly hair
good memory
to make Chewbacca's costume. Well, I love costuming for movies. So you've come from this amazing background in an industry where there's high visibility. It's really fun. It's really creative, really exhausting. And how did you grow out of that into what's the short version of your journey to where you are now?
The short version is that most people have a kind of sideline, a side hustle in the film industry, because it's very all or nothing, and they just pick it up when it's the nothing side. So I had started Studio 77 when my daughter was born, because I knew that with a family, film life is just not compatible. So I started it when she was like 6 months old, and I was selling direct to public. And I soon became a factory. I did really well, but it was just like too much.
And you were selling bags?
No, so I was selling toys. So handmade toys, personalized. Yeah, so like fidget toys, that kind of thing. So I had to like test them all and all of that. the whole thing.
dollars for hours, though. I mean, it's
Exactly.
beautiful to be able to create things and be able to sell them, but it's not scalable in any way.
Exactly. Yes. And I realized that. And then also at the same time, people were starting to ask me about how to make things as well. How do you say this? How do you do this? And then I realized that there was this area of the internet, of online, where people sell PDF patterns. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. That could be something that I go into. So yeah, I was doing that. I was also face painting as well. I was still face painting this whole time, which is, you know, really creative, lovely job as well to do. But yeah, and then in 2020, after about 3 years of procrastinating, I know it's a bit cliche because it's during lockdown, but I finally started my YouTube channel. And that was really well received. I was very much like, I want to get monetized. I got monetized in 6 months. And then, and that was great. But the money didn't exactly come flowing in. So I was like, okay, what do I need to do to make this a job? And obviously lockdown was obviously when there was no filmmaking as well. No one could get any work. And at this stage, after Star Wars, actually, I stopped. Sorry, this is not a short version, is it?
Listening so far, I don't think the short version exists.
No.
But every detail is so fascinating. I'm enjoying it. We can just make a long episode. It's okay.
Yeah, I can definitely talk. Yeah, so yeah, during lockdown, no one was making new films, and after Star Wars, I'd actually stopped doing full-time work because that was when I was making toys direct to the public or selling direct to the consumer, and it was gaining so much momentum that I thought I can take this full-time, and I did for a bit. And then the film world, I didn't realize this would happen, but the film world were like, oh, actually, you can't do full-time, but actually can you do a few days here and a few days there? And so that sort of worked out really nicely. And then I did part-time work as well. And then obviously lockdown stopped everything. And that's when I started my YouTube channel. And then I was like, I need extra income on top of the monetization, which isn't very much, especially when you start. And that's when I heard about Patreon memberships and things like that. In 21, at the end of 21, I wrote my first pattern, like as in, wasn't a freebie. I'd done lots of free tutorials on YouTube, but this was my first full pattern, which was my dinosaur pencil case, which is still very popular. And yeah, and then in the March, with the view that I needed to do some kind of membership, Patreon. So, and me being me was like, I'm all in. So I was like, I hadn't heard good things about the actual platform of Patreon and how much they take and all of the rest of it. And it had some negative connotations, so I decided to set up another platform and then started that in March, and then it's just kind of like snowballed from there, really. Yeah.
This March? So your membership is brand new? Okay.
No, March 22.
All right. So it's the membership's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
What platform did you use, and have you stuck with it, and how do you like it?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the platform used to be called. I have not stuck with that platform, and I cannot remember the name of it. It was WordPress, but it had a plugin.
Okay.
Can't remember the name of it. I remember searching because I wanted it to do. There's a specific thing. It's called something like. It's like a newspaper type thing, they called it. Where so with my membership, depending on when you join, you don't get the back catalogue of my patterns. You get the back catalogue. I mean, we'll go into that, but you only get the pattern from when you join that's in the membership at that point, and then you get the others going forward.
From what time?
So I needed to have this kind of, they called it like a newspaper. I can't remember the exact term.
Let's talk about that for just 1 minute, because most people, as they have a membership, you can have courses. Memberships are a little bit different because it's ongoing. You have to create content. Once you create a course, often you can leave it for a while and people can just access. But a membership, you have to continually create. And often people, when new people come into the membership, they have access to everything that's already there. But if you only give them access to what's starting in the month they join, that encourages them to stay instead of come in for 1 month and download all of your patterns and then go.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I don't know why that hasn't ever occurred to me.
So they get like a mixture. So when I started off, and I cannot believe I did this, but I did 2 patterns a month. They got access to 2 patterns a month, the community, and I can't remember exactly what else we did, but it was, the main thing was the patterns. And then I went down to 1 pattern a month, and I think I added something else in, which I can't remember. But as you can imagine, I got very burnt out very quickly. So in some ways it was a disaster, and I was constantly on this hamster wheel that I couldn't get off. But in other ways, it meant I built up my catalogue of patterns very quickly, which was good. And that also helped me gain authority in the space, in the bag making world. So in a lot of ways it was really good. But like I say, I don't know that I recommend that, because it was a huge amount of work.
There is something to be said for jumping all in and having people there with you that keeps you accountable and forces you to produce, right?
Yeah,
forces you to produce content. But you're right. Memberships are time consuming, and they take a while. So where did you go from there?
So then after a year, I remember I had a meeting with a business coach, and she said something, and this really resonated to me, and maybe it will with your listeners. She said, if everything burnt to the ground, as in your business, metaphorically, what would you rebuild? What would you keep or change? How would you have it exactly how you wanted? And I was like, well, yeah, I wouldn't be doing all these patterns every month and on this thing. So I completely restructured my membership. That meant I could also put up the price as well, because I was very much stuck in and I think this is sadly a thing that is very consistent in the sewing world, maybe in the fibre arts world as well, but the very low ticket. And it's a race to the bottom. So it's like your £5, I don't know what that is, like $8 memberships. So not that I charge a huge amount more, but I went from $7.99, I started out my membership. Then it went up to $9.99 in the January after. And then when I restructured the whole thing the year later, like the June time, it still is $19.99 a month. And to do that, to enable to have that huge jump, I grandfathered in all of the previous members. So I still have members on $7.99 and $9.99. And obviously if they leave, they then have to join again at the $19.99. But also I restructured the offering. So the key offering wasn't or isn't the pattern. That is like an extra now. So it's not that they don't ever get it, they always get it, but that is now every quarter instead of every month. And then the key offering is the bag making skills masterclass. So they get 3 sort of lives a month. So they get a social Zoom, which is, everybody loves that. I love that because we just literally chat about everything. We have a social Zoom. I bring in guest speakers as well. If anybody, on a side note, if anybody's listening and they do online Zoom classes and it's something to do with creativity that can be based towards bag making, get in touch, because I'm always looking for new speakers. And so I have the social Zoom, the guest speaker, and then the skills builder. Those are the key offerings. And then they get things like 50% discount on my past patterns. So they don't, like I say, they only get the pattern that is in the club for that quarter when they join. 2 months after that pattern comes out into the club, it is then released into my pattern shop. So then it isn't exclusive. That's when I put ads on my videos, so they get the video ad free while it's in the club as well. So they get 50% discount on all my past patterns. They can use that twice, for 2 patterns every month. And then there's also anything extra I can do. So we have done swaps. We're going to do another swap soon. I an ambassador for different companies, and I every now and then I'm like, can you give us a cheeky discount? I'll just use it for my membership, so they get that. We have just done a sew along. So for this quarter, we have done a mystery sew along. So they didn't know what they were making, a bit like a mystery quilt. So sort of stole it, if you like, from the quilt world. Yeah, and so they had different parts drop. They didn't know what they were making. A lot of people, I feel, were really like, oh, this is out of my comfort zone. But they still went with it. So that's been really, really fun seeing that. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. One of the things I'm hearing is creating both the idea that you're special because you're getting this first before everybody.
Yes.
I mean, they're paying for it. But so there's this exclusivity, right? But then also there is time limited scarcity. So you have to participate now. You can't come back in 2 months and still get the pattern from this month. It's, you know, I love that I'm learning a lot from this. I love hearing how you're working it. What platform are you using for your membership now?
So now I use Experiencify. So it's XP, like letters XP, and then Eriencify. Experiencify, yeah. And that's really cool because it gamifies your content. So when I heard about gamification, I was like, I want that. And there's very few platforms that do that and allow that and do all these like whizzy things. One thing it used to do, which I loved, but Facebook has taken this away, as you probably know, is it used to be able to, if a member joined, I could have it post in any group, you know, Lyric has just joined the family, welcome Lyric, let's all say hello, and it would just do that all automated, which was amazing and obviously created extra excitement. But sadly we can't do that anymore. But it will do things like you can add tags to people when they've watched things. I mean, probably a lot of them can do that, but then once they get a certain tag, you can, or when they watch a certain video or however you set it up, you can have it so that it fills the screen goes almost blank. And then it will be like hooray and confetti and whatever wording you want and a little moving machine and like all this like fun stuff, and they get points if they click on things, and then you can have the points do different things and stuff.
Oh, that's fantastic. The Academy's private membership is on the Mighty Networks platform, and just over the last year they've gamified it, and I have yet to have time to go in and learn how to implement it. But it's high on the list because I think it really does drive a lot of member interest and engagement. It's kind of like the star chart with star stickers. I'm like, such a simple thing, but I know I was always motivated by I'm competitive when I was younger a lot. I wanted to have the most stars for sure, so I would do the thing. So I love that you have found a platform that works with. I am going to have to look at it and see if I can find people to talk to from the platform and let people know more about it.
Yeah, it's really cool. Definitely recommend that. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit. When I was researching your offerings, I love going into people who've been doing YouTube for a while and look at their early videos and then look at their most recent videos. Because all of this, we talk about these things and there's so much fun and we learn so much from experiencing and running our businesses, but it's a process and it's a real difficult at times, long process. It's not always smooth, rarely smooth. And it's often, we look around and go, why isn't this working? What's happening? What can I do better with this? Let's talk about your early videos, because your business is, anything we do online is going to be heavily invested in creating videos, right? So let's talk about how you started making videos. What was your tech stack? What did you have difficulty with? And what have you learned along the way to what is your tech stack and what have you learned now?
Yeah, so I mean, I started with an iPhone and I still use an iPhone to
They're the
record.
best.
The main thing.
Well, any pocket phone, right? The
Exactly,
cameras are so good.
Yeah, yeah. And I just think you can't really go wrong. And, you know, I mean, ironically, anything that you need help with, you can just search on YouTube for, you know. And just a ring light. In fact, I've still got the ring light. It's off to off to my right. Yeah, just concentrate on your lighting, and actually lighting and sound is more important than anything else, even if it's like a lower quality. I quickly realized, not that I had terrible sound to begin with, but I needed to have a good mic. So definitely investing in your mic rather than your camera, I would say, because that's really key. And then just learning, every single video I did, I mean, I was very driven. I wanted to get monetized. So I was just eating, sleeping, breathing, YouTube strategy, how to get better on YouTube, how to hit the algorithm, how to make people watch, or get people to watch, I should say. Can't force people to watch. And just, although it's just, YouTube is a massive strategy thing. And I've seen loads of people, they do really, really well on Instagram and they just cannot get going on YouTube. And I think, you know, if you have struggled to gain any traction on the other platforms, definitely give YouTube a try, or vice versa if you're struggling, you know. But I would say don't give up too quickly on YouTube, because YouTube is one of the key ways to get monetized. And I do feel that with longer formed content, people gain that know, like, and trust, which you just cannot get on the short form when you're trying to hit that 5-10 second ridiculous attention span that you have to do on those platforms.
And one, YouTube is evergreen. Two,
yes.
It's a search engine. So people find you instead of the algorithm choosing who your content randomly gets shown to. What was one of the things that worked for you to launch your YouTube channel and get it monetizing in 6 months? That's intense. That's a lot.
It was intense. I mean, it was lockdown, don't forget. So, you know,
of course. Yeah.
I mean, I did have
a
toddler, but still. Yeah. So I think one of the videos that really took off, and in fact, it's above my head, there is the shark pencil case. And that really took off. And the way I did that is actually, if you watch the video, it's actually not my pattern. So one of the sort of strategy things that you can do is to find a video that's doing really well in either a similar niche or in another language that you should never ever completely copy. You should always put your own spin on it, your own personality. If you cannot make it better or as a side track, you know, side step from it, then just leave it alone, because obviously, you know. So I found this shark pencil case and it was done in Spanish. I think there was like maybe 2 in Spanish and 1 in Korean or something. And I was like, well, this is doing really well. And one of the key ways to know if a video is doing well and if you should, you know, take ideas from it, like I say, put your own spin on it, is if the video has more views than they have subscribers. So if you see a video and it has like 80,000 views, you may think, oh, that's a really, you know, that's done really well. But then you look at their channel and they've got 200,000 subscribers. That's not done really well. That should have done better. But if you look at a video and it's got 80,000 views, and only 5,000 subscribers, then that is a hit. Or even
that means 60,000. YouTube is pushing it out to more and more people.
Yeah, and it's not just their subscribers and their followers, which is amazing. I mean, if you can get 100% of your subscribers to watch it, which is unheard of.
That doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Yeah, so you know that, like you say, YouTube is pushing it out. It knows that it's a good video. It has a higher retention rate of the amount of time people are watching it, and so it's going to tell more people about it. And that's because when you launch a video, what YouTube does is it will say, right, so let's say for argument's sake, you've got 100 subscribers and it will, you launch a video and it will show a percentage. Nobody knows the exact percentage. It's like, you know, YouTube secrets. So let's say it shows it to 20%, 20 people. And 10 people watch that. Well, that's good. That's 50% of the 20, obviously. Okay, so we're going to show it to another 10 of your subscribers to see how they do. And then it goes on like that. And then it keeps snowballing. Or if they don't click on it and they don't watch it, it stalls, and that's when it doesn't gain traction. So that is another reason why you need to be gaining not just any subscribers. They need to be subscribers that are in your niche and wanting that content. One thing that I did early on, because I knew it would be popular, and it was, thankfully, actually it helped that I launched it on Boxing Day. So there's a tip. You guys don't have Boxing Day, do you? It's
we
the day
don't.
After Christmas. It's the day after Christmas Day. So traditionally that's the day then in England that you give presents. So I think that's why it's called Boxing Day.
Fun.
Anyway. So obviously a lot of people were at home. I launched it Boxing Day and it immediately started gaining traction, and that was a video completely off topic, off niche, and at this point I was just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what I could do, anything that was creative, and it was about changing my garage into my workshop, the workshop that I'm sitting in right now, and I did it for £1,000, quoted £10,000, and I did it for £1,000. Just with the materials. So obviously I hit all the right things because it was still lockdown. It was the end of 2020, so people were very much thinking about, okay, this is going to go on longer. We're going to need to build, an office, change our garage into an office. So it started going really well. But actually what I had to do, because I started looking at my stats. And we all know, unfortunately, I'd love for there to be more men in the industry, but we all know that it is more of a female industry. And I was starting to get a lot more male subscribers, and they were from that video. And that actually is going to hurt my channel because they're not going to watch a video on how to make a pencil case.
Right.
So I actually ended up unlisting that video and taking it down because it was a bit painful, because it was, earning money and it did really well, but it was hurting my channel in the long run. So
right.
I think
what I'm seeing here is strategy in place. You know where you want to go because, number one, you know who your audience is and you know what they want and how you can serve them.
Yes.
Right. And then you know where to look for numbers. Statistics and analytics are, for my brain, they're incredibly painful, but they are really important to look at so that you can understand what's working, especially if you're on YouTube. But understanding those analytics and numbers helps you make decisions for where to pivot, what to drop, what to push, how to go forward. So you're growing your YouTube channel, you're refining your videos, you're refining your audience, you're moving towards a business. I would love to hear how you use the top of the marketing funnel, which is YouTube, where strangers find you. They don't know you. You're building that like and trust. They subscribe because you offer them something of value. How do you then funnel them into your offerings? How do you move people from this free content to supporting you financially? So all of us deserve to be able to be supported, right? Financially for offering this. We gift our people with this creativity and this love and the service. But at some point there has to be a transaction in order for there to be a real connection and a real transformation that we can offer to our people.
And otherwise you just simply can't keep going. It's just like you can't offer free, you can't live off of free. So
how did you make that work?
So I guess the membership really helped, but when I launched the membership I was quite disappointed in the people that joined, as in the numbers, not the actual people. Obviously I loved them, but the actual numbers. I think I only had 30 people join in the first month, which I was really disheartened because I think at the time I had around 10,000 followers across my social media. And I was like, okay, I've just worked really hard on this and I'm offering this amazing thing and not that many people. But I didn't realize that I wasn't really emailing people. I had an email list, but I wasn't really emailing them. I was just kind of sitting on it, emailing them once in a blue moon, but not really. And so my audience was quite cold. And I think that's really important to keep them warm. And you asked about how I get them from YouTube into my world, as I call it. So I have quite a lot of lead magnets. So my sharp pencil case is my most popular lead magnet. That's a free pattern. So with permission, the Spanish creator that let me do an English version, her template was quite kind of, it was on like a Reddit forum or something that you had. So I said, can I sketch it out, do proper templates? Yeah. She said, that's totally fine. Which was absolutely amazing. So having that as a lead magnet, and I do give her full credit at the beginning of the video. That's also really important. And she did one of mine. We did a collaboration. That's quite fun.
Oh, that's
as well.
beautiful.
You can swap. Yeah, you can swap. So I was like, well, you can do any of my videos, but this is my most popular, which was my crayon roll, which was one of my highest selling products when I was making.
I just want to pause for 1 minute and remind people that collaboration always works so much better than competition. So thank 100%. You for letting us know how you collaborated that way. And
I am always, I'm always up for collaborating. Early on in my YouTube kind of journey, I met an amazing group of people on Clubhouse, if you remember that social media. I don't know if you got in on that, but I loved Clubhouse. That really got me through the whole, period of time. And I met these amazing creators, and they were so much about collaboration. I've always been about collaboration. In the film industry, you have to collaborate with people no matter what as well. So, and yeah, that was amazing. And I had advice from, I remember this one guy giving me a phone call. I remember it was in the middle of the school run. I was like, I don't have time for this call, but I have to take this call. He was in Thailand, I think, and he had like 2 million subscribers, and I had like 500 or something, and he was like, you need to do this, you should do that, like fully giving me free advice. And I just think that's so wonderful and so lovely that people do that and collaborate in that. That was a one-sided transaction, but collaborations are, there's right. Like you say, there's no competition.
They're beautiful. So you've got YouTube videos that you're including links to freebies that bring people into your email list that you now, after
then I nurture them.
Now you nurture them. You don't leave them out in the cold anymore.
No, yeah. So then once they get it, depending on which, 9 times out of 10, it's the same automation they fall into. So say they join via the Shark, I then send them a series of emails which will be like, oh, have you seen my flip octopus? Remember that craze? I did a video on that. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And then, I just send them everything. This is all my other freebies that you might have missed out on, just so that they don't have to like sign up for 5 different ways, because I think that's just a bit weird and annoying. So then they get an automation, and I tell them a bit about me and why I'm here and teaching people and my history and things like that. And then I'm like, join my Facebook group. That's the kind of hub of the community. And then once they're in the Facebook group, I feel like that then I can really nurture them more, because then they see a lot more of me. I just find that Facebook, I know people really hate Facebook, but I just find that the community aspect of Facebook is unparalleled to anywhere else. I mean, they call YouTube a social media, and it kind of is. There is a kind of community aspect, but it's not as much as
Facebook is about the interaction.
Yes,
right?
And people feel more available to chat with you. And
right. That's one of the things I like about Mighty Networks, is it mirrors so many of the functions of Facebook without being Facebook. I have loved Facebook in the past, but so many people are getting off of it that I'm happy that I'm over here. But the function of what it does, the way it encourages conversation, the way it's so easy for people to upload photos and just conversation threads, lives, all the kinds of things. I think Facebook is an excellent option.
And also you can find strangers there as well that don't know you quite easily. Because Experienceify also has like the forums and the groups and are similar, like they're kind of moving that way as well. I think Mighty Networks might be a little bit ahead of that, but from what I've heard of. But what the thing about Facebook is that, like YouTube, you can find it's another funnel. And they might just stumble upon your group because it's got sewing or whatever you do in the title, and then join, and then like, oh, there's all this other stuff that we can get or we can do, and so Facebook and YouTube and Instagram to some extent are like my top of the funnels. And
then down to email. I love
email.
Everybody talks about this. Email is definitely where your most valuable customers are, where you have a more authentic connection, where they've chosen you on purpose, invited you into their inbox, and where you can provide them so much value. And that's where the sales come from. That's what makes it work. And I love that you talked about automated nurture sequences. If y'all have email lists and you have not on your platform yet built automated nurture sequences, it's kind of vital.
Yeah.
It's kind of really important to, right when they come in hot, right when they've chosen, send them a series of emails, just like you described, to develop that relationship before you just set them off to swim with your regular for everybody emails. It really cements that part of the relationship.
Yeah, and I think a little tip, if you can get them to reply to you, then that then helps your deliverability. So that's a little tip. You know, like I always like, and my nurture sequence, I have different automations, but I do have one which is all of the emails are just plain text. There's no images. It's just like a chatty email from a friend. And I think that helps deliverability, and also just asking them to reply, like, I've told you everything about me, tell me about you. And I do get some really lovely emails every now and then, and I make it a point to reply to every single email if I can. It's very rare that one slips through the net. And they will tell me their whole life story, and it's just so lovely when they started sewing and
I get the same thing with mine. Yeah, and it's a lovely thing to do for your last email of your nurture sequence is say, I've told you about me, now tell me your story, tell me, you know, ask. And people love to talk about themselves, people love to share, and to get a reply, it just makes them feel so special. And you don't have to, people don't freak out thinking you're going to be spending all of your time replying to these emails, because really not that many people actually reply.
No.
You know, and you can have kind of a stock answer that you can copy and paste and then personalize every time you send it out. So it doesn't have to take a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously also nowadays you have the prompts as well, so you can just click on that, and you know, I have a signature that I just click on and it does all of that, so that helps speed things up. But yeah, you're right, not that many people reply with a lengthy email or even just acknowledge, but it's really nice when they do. So
it really is. Well, I love that you've gone through this whole process and it's been built idea by idea, right? You didn't have, I'm sure, 10 years ago, you didn't have this picture of what your business looks like in your mind and said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Maybe for the film industry, you knew what you wanted to do. But often in this side of the creative industries with online businesses, we often had no idea that these things even existed. I could not possibly have imagined when I was in college that this is what I would be doing. There's no way I could have imagined it. With the business that you have now, what are your favorite parts about it? And what has it opened up for you in your life?
Gosh, well, one of the reasons why I wanted to leave the film industry was because it is not compatible with families. It still isn't, sadly. They say jump, you say how high, you lose your weekend, your evenings, or whatever. I am not saying that I gained back my weekends or my evenings, by the way, because we all know that a business is like all encompassing. And I'm probably working more hours if I'm honest, but it does mean that I can completely do everything on my own terms. So although working, in the film industry sounds highly creative, sometimes it is. Mostly I was shown exactly what to make, and I had to work out the technical aspects, which is the creative side. But often I would just be sewing on poppers for days on end. It's not as glamorous as it sounds. And getting covered in other people's sweat is also not so nice. Looking after these
I think if people could smell what movie production smells like, it wouldn't be so glamorous.
I know.
So what are the benefits of running your own business the way you're doing it now?
Well, it just means that I can be with my kids if I need to be. I can pick them up. I can drop them off every day. I can pick them up every day, which is something that my parents weren't able to do. They're both in, very busy industries themselves. And so that's really important to me, that I can take them to any classes that they want to, things like that. But also, ultimately, it means that I can be creative and I can steer the business in whichever way I want. I'm not beholden to anyone other than my customers and my members. And that is very freeing and liberating in a creative way. I'm very driven to be successful, so that helps. I think you have to be very tenacious. It is a roller coaster, a business. There's definite highs and there's definite lows when you're tearing your hair out and nobody knows about it, because on the internet it's all rosy. But behind the scenes, you're like, what am I doing? How do I get off of this wheel? And then the next day you're fine again.
Right.
But I think in terms of what it's done for me, it's really, and I'm constantly, often, I should say, doing posts about how grateful I am that I am able to do this, rather than, and sometimes I miss the film industry, don't get me wrong, like when you see films that come out like Wicked, and I know lots of people that worked on it, and I kind of like, I would have loved to have worked on that. And then, I hear a little bit more about it and think, okay, I dodged a bullet, it's fine. And then I'm back in the real world and I'm fine. Yes, so I think just being able to be creative on my own terms. And also, I should caveat as well that I find like marketing to be quite creative. Don't think for a second that I'm sewing all day. I actually don't sew very much, because there is a huge amount of admin and behind the scenes stuff. I'm constantly on the computer all day, even if that is making templates and things like that. So it has completely changed my world for the better. So I'm very grateful, and I just love what I do. I'm so grateful that I'm able to do this. In terms of, you said what's my favorite part, I think there's a few. It's very hard to answer that because there's a few key things that I love. So we haven't even talked about my subscription box, but I have a bi-monthly subscription box, which is every other month. And it's not a kit, it's a box of bag making goodies, supplies. I'm very conscious of saying that it's not a kit, because I don't want to add the boring stuff in there. I want to spend your money on the cool stuff, the fancy hardware, the fancy faux leather. I get everything. I'm able to now get everything bespoke made, bespoke printed, exactly, and everything matches and all of that. So one of my favorite things is when people get the boxes, and I'm always a little bit like, I think they're gonna love it. I'm really sure they're gonna love it, and I've showed it to a few people and they love it. But you're always a little bit in the back of your mind like, what if they don't love it?
Let it work.
Yeah, please love it. And then every single time, I'm pleased to say they have loved it. And then people just post and they do unboxings and they're like, how have you done it again? And I love it so much, and how do I get more of it, and everything else. So
Very
that
nice.
is one of my favorite things about the box side. And then if you look at the other two kind of prongs of my business, the pattern shop is obviously when I see people make my bags, is like really, like I literally gasp out loud often, like, oh, look at the fabric they've chosen, it's so much, so much better than I could have chosen. And like, that really is wonderful, seeing my babies kind of go out into the world, and then other people, choose to make them, things like that. And then in the membership, the thing that I really, really love is the community and how many people have made real life friendships. They meet up in real life, or they continue on Zooms, and they chat and they support each other. And if anybody, I've got just over 200 members, and if anybody is down, if you're in a group with 200 people on Facebook, it's kind of like a bit like crickets. Not always, but often it's like hard to get that engagement. Whereas when you buy into something, you are sort of saying not only to yourself but to everyone else, I'm invested in this physically because I'm paying money. And it's really hard to explain that, because people just think, oh, you just want my money. It's not about that at all. It's just that if people are investing in the community, they are more engaged naturally. They want to be there. They are going to keep checking in, and so the support is like amazing. It's quite profound. And it means that even if I'm not there and someone asks a question, there will be like quite a few different people that will be like, oh, you should try this, or have you thought about this? Or, someone will say, where do I get this fabric? And they'll be like, try here, just everyone's just so lovely. And that really is just so, so wonderful. The amount of people that say, oh, I love the club, and I'm like, it's because of you guys. You love it because of you. Like, you are the club. You think
community
it's me, but
community is beautiful when the people in the Academy's community support and help each other, and we do a lot of the same things that you do. We have a open round table for teachers. We have guest speakers, and that community feed where people can ask each other questions. It's being in connection with other creatives is so fulfilling and so beautiful.
I think it's such a solo thing that we all do. Everything we do, it's not like we're going out to play tennis with a partner. We are making something on our own in our homes, usually 9 times out of 10. And being able to connect with other people. I mean, I certainly don't have any local friends that really are into sewing. I kind of do a little bit now, I shouldn't say that. But before I kind of, got into this world, I didn't really. And it was kind of like, I've made this thing, I want to show someone. And then everyone's like, oh, that's great.
Having the people who understand what it really takes is so important and so fulfilling. Emma, this has been an absolutely wonderful time to spend with you and to hear your story, and we can all hear the love and excitement you have for both your craft and your people and your business. Before we go, I want to ask you our fun question, because we're all creatives here. What is the last thing that you made?
Yeah, so I think the last thing that I made was probably my niece's prom bag. So so she
We're
was
getting
just
fancy. This is not a shark pencil case.
No. So I am very much a last minute deadline urgency creator. That kind of, I don't know why I hate myself that I'm like that, because it always annoys me that I'm up till 2 a.m. doing this thing, but that's just how I am and I can't change it. So anyway, I need to embrace it. So she is short like me, so she needed 4 inches taken off the bottom of her prom dress, which I did. Her mum asked me to do that, so of course I did that. And then I was like, ooh, there's 4 inches here, I can do something. Do you have a bag? And she was like, no. And then she was like, oh, I don't think I want a bag. And I was like, well, Auntie's not going to let that happen. So it was like a 2-layer chiffon and then like a satin underneath in this gorgeous like jade tealy color. Anyway, so I think I started at like 7 p.m. because when I could, and I finished at like 1 p.m. At 1 a.m. Sorry, of course, 1 a.m.
Straight on into the morning.
Straight into the morning, and it was such a fun project, because those are the things that I love, that I haven't, there's no like expectation. I don't have to teach anyone that. I like doing that too, obviously, but that's, when that's your kind of quote unquote 9 to 5, your job, it's nice to not do that as well. And so I did
really nice.
I had to do this like fancy ruching so that you couldn't see that it was made out of 4-inch strips. And if you want to see that, it's on my Instagram grid as well. I did a reel
Lovely. We'll see if we can get a link to it and put it in the show notes. Well, Emma, thank you for your time. We are so delighted to have had you here with us. You've offered so much advice and a good example of the way an online business can work and grow.
Thank you so much. I will add, if you are interested in the YouTube strategy side of things and you're, really want to get your teeth into YouTube and how you can hit that algorithm, and that there is a bit of a science to it, but it's nothing like hidden sorcery. There's none of that backhanded stuff. It's just about knowing the different steps that you need to take. So I did actually create a course called YouTube for Creatives. So if anybody would like to check that out, I will give Lyric a 25% discount code for that as well, in case you're interested.
Thank you so much. Well, Emma, love you. Thank you for being with us today. Emma's story is such a clear example of how you can build a joyful, sustainable, creative business without doing it perfectly the first time, learning as you grow. If you want to explore more of what Emma offers, including her sewing patterns, tutorials, membership, you'll find everything linked in the show notes. And if you're ready to grow or build your own creative teaching business, whether it's launching a course, using video, or starting a membership, check out the resources waiting for you at academyforvirtualteaching.com. We've got tools and support designed for creative entrepreneurs just like you. Thanks for listening to Creatives on Camera. We'll see you next time.